old legacy of plastering and cement masonry that we're super proud of. We were one of the first building trade unions, first building trade crafts ever is what we say. Back when humans were first doing huts, mud huts, they were plasters back then too. That's right. So, but yeah, no, we're very happy and excited to share the space with you folks. Sorry for the folks online who can't see our field facility that we just got a little bit last year. But we're really proud of it, and we're happy to share it with you folks here that come in here. You're all doing good work, doing the Lord's work. So thank you all for what you do, and we're happy to share this space with you. So you're always welcome here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Our unions are under attack right now, and if you don't know it, we need to protect our unions, just like they need Democrats. We need strong Democratic leaders that will protect our unions. So thank you. Thank you again. Let's see. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to get the meeting started. For those here in the room, we're going to start here in the room. Is there any new members that would like to introduce themselves who have not been to a Democratic Club meeting before in the room? Anyone? Anyone? Come on up. Come on down. So we're going to have a chance to introduce some of our new members and then open it up for the folks online. So why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Hi, my name is, is this working?
Project here, but it is on.
Gotcha. My name is Julie. I was a longtime Livermore resident, 20-something years, and just recently moved to Pleasanton. I'm involved with Tri-Valley and Livermore Indivisible. I represent the healthcare team from Tri-Valley, and I'm here tonight to learn more about the group and see if there's some ways that we can work to support each other and collaborate in this scary times. So that's it.
Thank you. Welcome. Thank you. And anybody else in the room here that is new, that has not been, and we have a pretty good crowd here tonight. That's awesome. What about on Zoom? Anybody new on Zoom that wants to raise their virtual hand? Anyone? Okay. Let me go ahead and bring up something to share. Bear with me. I had it all here earlier. While I'm bringing up our documents for tonight, in January or February, we did hold an election for club members, for our club officers. So I'd like to introduce our club officers. In the room, do we have Ellis Goldberg? Ellis? Ellis is our secretary and political director. Ellis, do you want to just come up and introduce yourself? It's not the club meeting yet, or the political director's report yet, but just to introduce yourself to folks who don't know you.
Looking around, I don't think there's hardly anybody that doesn't know me. But I'm Ellis Goldberg. I've been here for 20 years with my wife, Sharon. And when I introduce myself to somebody, I usually say we're with the Tri-Valley Dems, and we're very proud of this club and everything that it's done. And we plan on doing more. And we've got a good bunch of people. I'm glad that we have this many turning out on a rainy night without a featured speaker. We frequently have featured speakers. We frequently meet at, well, we used to meet at the IBW in Dublin, right at the 680, 580 crossroads. So it's very convenient. And we've got a long history. We sent, at one point, 2 members to Congress, Jerry McNerney and Eric Swalwell, both former officers in this club. So this club's been around for a while. We had a woman in to one of our seasonal parties several years ago. She said her husband used to be president of the club. In 1960, he was part of the Kennedy campaign for this club. So this club goes back quite a few years. And all of you, welcome. And it ain't over. Thank you.
Thank you. And past president, as well as our current parliamentarian and music director, Dr. Ronald Lawrence.
Good evening, everyone here and everyone out there in Zoom land. This is a wonderful turnout. You know, I see all these bright faces, and as a psychology doctor, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for honesty, and I'm looking for integrity, and I'm looking for people who can fight. And I see a good fighting group here tonight. I don't see it out there on the internet, but I suppose later on I might. But it seems like we've got a good fighting spirit going here and throughout the East Bay area so far. And I'm very encouraged by the fact that we've had some good demonstrations against Musk and Trump and Tesla in particular at Dublin 3 weeks ago, and for the last couple of weeks down in Walnut Creek. And I want to invite you all to come to the Walnut Creek demonstration, Broadway Plaza, every Saturday at 12 noon. As entertainment director, I'm sort of entertaining there also. I've done some singing and chanting and those kinds of things. So come and sing along or protest songs. You may have heard of this guy by the name of Bob Dylan or Woody Guthrie. And incidentally, the movie that is on Bob Dylan, A Complete Unknown, is just a wonderful elevation of spirit. It's not just about Bob Dylan and the biography, it's about the values of the 60s, and it shows the protest movement and the protest songs and the people who are standing up for what's right and what's for equality rather than racism and sexism. So I'm going to leave you just with that thought. Good to see such good fighting spirit here, and you can see a good fighting spirit movie called A Complete Unknown.
Okay, and the man who is controlling the money, the man with a plan, who has been our treasurer for the past, well, since I've been a club member, and so amazing. And here to talk about dues is Alan Nakashir.
The best thing that we said about dues is pay them. But I manage the money. Our dues are very modest, let's say, and our finances are equally modest. And I think we serve more as a vehicle to help some local people and campaigns and stuff. And when we have extra money, that's what we try to do. Appreciate everybody here. If you ever have any questions about whether you are a member, you can email me, call me, more than happy to answer your questions. If you think you're a member, you're not, and I'll just try to keep in touch and keep things going. I learned on this, I'm not an accountant, but through the previous treasurer, he taught me, and finally, after about a year or so, I finally figured out what I'm doing.
Don't let him fool you. He knows what he's doing. And by the way, if any club member cannot afford the dues, like Alan said, we haven't changed dues in years. But if you cannot afford it, we will cover you. So don't let the dues stop you from participating. If you want to be a member, you can't afford the dues, drop me a note, send a note to TV Dims Media, say, I want to be a member, can't afford it. We'll take care of you, okay? But not to say that dues don't help us. So we do need the dues to be able to do the thing we want to do, which is get people elected and help the Democratic Party. Next up, my right-hand man, worked for the Joe Biden administration, worked for our Joe Biden campaign, I should clarify, Work for Kamala Harris campaign, Richard Lee.
Thanks, Jackie, and thanks everybody. I don't have a whole lot to say, so I'll be quick. But yes, +1 plug for paying dues if y'all haven't already. Also, sign in if y'all haven't signed in yet. That's very important. But as folks have said, this is our first in-person meeting in a while, and so I'm very heartened to see everybody here on a rainy Monday night. I know we're going to have our discussion later this meeting on just brainstorming ideas on ways we can get the club involved and membership engaged in all of the fervor and anger and frustration that's happening on all levels of government right now. And I would just really, really encourage everybody, but particularly newer members or folks who haven't been to a meeting in a while, to just give in their opinion, join in the discussion. We would love to hear from you. We would love to hear on ways that the club can, participate in some of the efforts you guys are organizing in, or ideas in which you feel like the club can get involved in and things like that. Because we want to meet the moment. There's a lot of anger right now, but this is a really good opportunity then to get folks involved in sort of building community and coming together and being part of the resistance. So thank you all for being here.
Thank you, Richard. And I am Jackie, the president of the club. I'm also a member of the Alameda County Central Committee, as well as Richard and Trish Monroe, who is one of our elected officials. Trish, you want to stand up real quick? Trish Monroe, the Honorable Trish Monroe is also our elected Alameda County Democratic Central Committee elected official, as well as Cheryl Cook Callio, Seema Badar, and Jan Park. And Jan. And I'm the alternate for Jan, so I know that. And also, Trish is going to be a delegate. She is a delegate for us. So, any other delegate in the room? Charlie Jones is a delegate for our party. And I am a delegate. Yes, I was very honored to be selected as an alternate to go with the delegation. So, any other delegate in the room that wants to introduce himself? Richard is a delegate. That's right. So as president of the Tri-Valley Dems, I've been president for 2 years, volunteered. As a matter of fact, Ellis gave me the opportunity to be the club rep for the Central Committee. And that's how I was pulled into doing a lot of the club work. And thank you, Ellis, for that. I really appreciate that. So with that, we're going to move on to some of the meat. I'm going to share a document with you here as soon as I find it. I had it up before I started the Zoom. Yes. Oh, the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay. And I brought a flag just for this. Yeah, you want to hug it like Donald Trump? Grab it, hug it, whatever he does to it. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Someday. Thank you, Van. Yes, there is a question from Trish Monroe. Yes, Trish.
As I'm listening and have been thinking about the difference between the Pledge of Allegiance and the preamble to the Constitution, would like to propose, I don't know how to, make a motion, just have a discussion, that either instead of or in addition to, we actually start reciting the preamble to the Constitution, because that speaks to what we are, what we stand for, and how we become, the country that we want to be.
And we have a second from Van. All in favor? Aye. What about online? Anybody object to that? Using the preamble to the Constitution instead of the Pledge of Allegiance? Hearing no as well.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, since we clarified that, all in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. Sounds like the ayes have it. So, who wants to get the, Trish, will you get us the information on the, no, I know it's going to be a quick search on the internet. I know we can, but we're going to send you guys some homework, learning the preamble of the Constitution. We the people, in order to form a more perfect union. Isn't there a song? Yes, we did. We will do it next time. And I am going to get up our agenda real quick. Every time I stop what I'm doing, I lose track. Okay. Let me share this for the folks on Zoom.
Secretary can sit up here too.
Yeah. Okay, can y'all see my agenda on the screen? Yeah, we see it.
It's
A little,
small.
okay. Well, I'm going to read it to you guys in the room here. The folks online can see it. We did a little brainstorming at, we had an officers meeting about a week or two ago and did a little brainstorming ourselves. And these are the takeaways that we came up with. What I'd like to do is kind of brainstorm, add on to what we've already done, and see if this group agrees with some of the ideas we've already come up with. And then again, add on group-like items, and then make it a recommendation, how we move forward. So we met as a executive board and looked at what do we need to do to, what kind of priorities do we need to have? What are our top goals for this year? I know a lot of people are frustrated. I'm very frustrated, feeling like I can't do enough. I can't make any change. I can't affect what's going on, and it's making me crazy. Very frustrating. So I feel like we need to have a plan. We need to have a course of action. We need to keep moving, keep actions. I don't want to just roll over and let Trump do whatever he's going to do and wreck the government, because I'm afraid if we just allow him to
He's done it.
do what he's doing, that there won't be anything left, and it'll be too late by the time he's out of office, if he ever leaves office. If he ever leaves office.
Don't say that.
Oh, where'd my camera go? Richard, do you have my camera? Oh, okay, great. So as a group, we met and we talked about some of the things that we felt were the top items. Increasing membership was a big issue for us. How do we engage people? I know I'm getting notes every day from people from the Central Committee that I don't know, or from strangers. So that's good. People want to know about what they can do to help. They want to help. And people are reaching out to the clubs and the Democratic Party and asking what they can do. So we need to have something for them to do when they call and volunteer. So membership was a big focus. We also talked about improving coordination with other like groups like Indivisible and Swing Left and all of those other great organizations, because a lot of us are doing the same thing. And I talked to Kyoko about how do we coordinate, and maybe one week a month we have the Tri-Valley Dims organizes a protest. We don't all have to do it every week. So, you know, if Kyoko's doing something at Tesla, like last weekend Indivisible did, then we'll coordinate and pick up a week and do a set action at least once a month, if not more. The other thing we identified was prioritizing getting Democrats elected. You know, how do we get good Democrats that are going to fight for our issues, not just roll over and be schmoozy with the next guy that's coming into office, but really fight for our democratic values. We lost the sales tax bill in Pleasanton, and now, you know, they're talking about going after the pension funds to help pay for what should have been a sales tax. So, you know, having that right person in office, it would have made or break that issue. And unfortunately, we didn't get the right person in office in Pleasanton. Outreach efforts, we identified different communities that we would like to have more inroads. We know that there's huge organizations and groups of folks that would love to get involved. They just don't know about us. So how do we reach out to other organizations? We identified the Asian and Indian communities, of one that we really want to learn more about and do more outreach. Membership. Again, membership. We need to identify our top priorities. How do we get membership? We talked about appointing an active chair for membership. So I did have somebody that shared an interest of doing membership and expanding. If anybody wants to be a part of that group, let me know. And Joy's saying social media posts. Social media posts that include Republican leaders' names and focus on the economy and jobs will be seen by their staffers. Okay. Social media, definitely for recruitment. We used to have a social media guru that did a lot of that stuff. Whether we have a website, we have Facebook, we have Blue Sky, we have Twitter, but I don't use it. But we need to expand, and we need to have a presence out there, and we need to be out there daily. The young people, that's, you know, they live on social media. That's where they get their news. Coordination with other groups was a big issue. Like I said, we need to improve coordination with Indivisible, Swing Left, and others. So if we could help identify other groups here, that would be very helpful. And let's see, 2026 election preparation. Focus on recruitment and supporting Democratic candidates for local office. Start planning about a year ahead of the election cycle. I mean, that's when people are starting to consider running and opening up their financial forms and doing all that work. So there's a lot of stuff when you run for office, and we need to be able to help local people that want to run for office, get them the training they need, get them the resources they need, and find good people. Recruitment is a huge thing. The central committees also have training for new candidates, so I would encourage anybody that's considering a run for office to take that class. It's $50 and it's very cheap training for what you get. So with that, I am going to open up the floor for ideas. So the way we're going to do this is a brainstorm type format. So we're going to talk about how we can do, for instance, community outreach, and we're going to do quick brainstorming, ideas from you guys. Just throw them out there. There's the rules for brainstorming is there is no rules. There is no wrong thing.
You ought to be, if somebody has an idea, it ought to go up on the screen so we know that it's captured and somebody doesn't repeat it. So there are few rules.
But there's okay, and the other rule is this is a brainstorm, so we're going to be quick. We're going to quick ideas. So it's not going to be long, drawn out discussions, but quick brainstorming, different ideas of how we can do. Yes, it is.
Yeah, and we have Phantom running also.
We have the
uh,
Phantom
artificial
doing that.
Intelligence will capture the meeting. So it's a good chance we'll get this in the notes.
One way or another.
One way or another, but I'd rather have both ways.
I'm going to add on as we type, but the Fathom will also capture all of that. Yes, Mary. You're right. And that's what we're going to start capturing some of these. So let's go right into, let's first talk about, yes, Richard. Beautiful. We are going to start first with membership. So membership was one of the big things that we identified. So we're going to do brainstorming on membership, and then we'll move on to brainstorming on how do we coordinate with other groups, and then we'll brainstorm on different activities and events. So this is going to be kind of a brain dump.
That's something on membership.
Okay. So let's start with membership, because that was one of the biggest things that we had. Some of the suggestions that was made from our executive committee was to appoint an active membership chair, learn from successful organizers like Kyoko about turnout strategies. We know how good she is at that. Use social media for more effective recruitment. So I assume that those are ads. Okay. We also said provide training for members on political organizing and potential volunteers identified for recruitment and digital media roles. So with that, any other ideas, membership and engagement?
Yeah.
And Richard, do you want to? We had two hands up there, one hand here.
I would like to see included in there a lot of personal contact that's not simply one-offs of, be that at the farmer's market, which is great, social media, but actually figuring out how to go bring people together. The biggest argument that I see from the people that I know is the Dems aren't doing anything. I'm turning away from them and becoming an NPP. In order to fight that, that needs to be personal contact. And the second piece with that is we need compelling arguments as we're talking to people individually. So those are two.
I was suggesting earlier that at the protest and events that are happening, we often will have a placard with a QR code that you can just snap-on and it takes you directly to membership, or it takes you to a Google form that directs you into a spreadsheet that captures people's email addresses so that you can add them and start communicating with them. So I know that at different actions that I've been to, there'll be a group that I'm interested in or a cause that I'm interested in, and just being able to click into it right there instead of going home and looking it up really helps to get people interested right away.
Oh, yuck. That was not good.
Along some of the same,
Did you guys capture that okay?
So-
Are folks on Zoom able to hear us?
Yeah,
Okay.
a bit along the same lines and kind of cross pollinating. Yeah, I was at, and a few of us were at the Livermore Indivisible meeting yesterday. There were 90 people there. There's a lot of, at least, right? So there's a lot of overlap. So yeah, if we had QR codes at the protests, but also if, as part of the coordination, if we could be reaching out and specifically talking with these other groups about membership. We also, if we tasked everybody in this room to bring 1 to 2 people to the next meeting, the best way we're gonna get more members is by people who know you asking you to come. That's gonna be more effective than almost anything else that we could possibly do. So that's just, a couple things real fast.
What can we say we are doing that makes a difference? That's what we need to be able to get somebody in, is that we're doing something. What are we doing? Indivisible is making subgroups, for environment and lots of other things. And those different groups are working on things. I'm afraid I don't see what I can say to answer that question.
Let me address that real quick.
Good.
Actually, we do. We have had subgroups and subcommittees in the past, and we have been very active. And then as people got on doing different things and people left, a lot of that has fallen to Richard and I to do a lot of that. So absolutely, we need help. We need all of you to do just a little bit. And Van has been our environmental chair in the past. And I know there's some other folks that have shared interests in being on the environmental committee. Anybody here today that is interested in a committee, I've sent out the form. I will send it out again. You can sign up to be a chair, to be a lead, to just be a member. I have a couple folks. Linda has shared interest in doing social media, so I'm going to get her on the website. And we can get people going. I mean, we can actually get people going. I did sign up for Mobilize, which is the public face of the Democratic Party for events. So I'm actually under the Alameda County Democratic Party. And this event was posted through there, but unfortunately, you need to do this like a week in advance. And they didn't approve it in time. So the next one will be on Mobilize. We will be much more public facing like Indivisible does. And we will be advertising. We will be reaching out. So I hope to see a lot of new members here as we progress. So yeah, that's absolutely one of the things we need to do. And Ellis.
Thank you, Jackie. Is that working on the speaker? It's hard for me to tell. We talked about, Trish mentioned, it has to be personal contact. The most effective thing that I have found for personal contact is business cards. In fact, I saw Bev give Joy a business card a little while ago. Now that was a business to business card. I don't know what the business was, but we're in the business of being the Democratic Party and electing Democrats and pushing the Democratic agenda. And you're going to meet people. You can give them a business card, tell them a little bit about the club, tell them that they can come down to a membership meeting for free, as some of you have, I guess, and they're welcome to join in. We frequently have elected officials here, and we help elect elected officials to answer Eloise's question. The other thing we need to do tabling is literature to hand out. In election year, read that even numbered years, we have promotional material from the various candidates. On other years and those years, we have legislation that we're pushing. I'm going to talk later on about something called SB 42, California Clean Money. And we should be pushing some agenda because that's what we're selling. We're not selling individual people. We're not selling it's fun to belong to this club, although it is. At some time during the summer, we'll have some kind of summer barbecue, a social event, and we'll be inviting people to that also. So in order to do tabling, you don't just bring a table and chairs. You bring a whole bunch of stuff, including literature, and you got to follow through on this. So once you meet somebody and they're a good prospect for being a member of the club and becoming active, we have to have the follow through on that. Walk them through the door and get them to buy into whatever we have. And some of you are in the process of doing that right now. Many of you have already bought in. So that's my take on it. And in particular, the business cards. We should have business cards that just say Tri-Valley Dems, our website, maybe the QR code that you spoke of. I don't know exactly how to do that, but I'm sure somebody does. Yeah, well, I'm sure there's ways to do that.
Here, the literature and all of that. Yeah, and this talks about exactly. That's what we do.
Okay, so we already have the QR code, so there's something for you to give out and recruit. So recruitment is everybody's job, and frankly, they don't have to live in the Tri-Valley. There's a lady that she was at the Tesla demonstration the other day, and she was a member of our club, but she lived in Nevada, and she spent part of the time here. So they don't have to be local.
No, they don't.
Yeah, other people got things to say.
So following up on what Ellis just said about the business cards, I do believe that in addition to candidate materials, that we need literature about our club for those tabling events and for other things. Another way to get people on board, the indivisible meetings are getting bigger and bigger. And occasionally there will be someone from a group in the back who is invited up to the front to promote their group. They might even have material to put up on the screen for it. It's a good opportunity for business cards, for literature, and for promoting the group within the activist community. And again, joining up with these other groups for things like demonstrations and actions is another great way to promote ourselves. And if we could regularly do some tabling, that would be a good thing too.
Going more on the business card thing, because I'm an advocate for a particular illness, and I got this idea from someone who's online, Mark Hemenzine. Is there a way to put some of the actionable stuff or the things that we're targeting to do on the business card so it just doesn't say join, but some of the information like I have, small, but you can put it on the card and it'll help. You know, I meet a lot of people. I play bridge, sometimes all over the country. And so, it's something I talk to people and, you can give them this. So, yeah. Thank you, Mark. Who's
not to be a contrarian, I want to go in a different direction. You know, the mechanics are all well and good, and it might be nice to have those things to present at tabling and whatever else. But I think we need to define ourselves as the moral superior to the Republican Party. That we need to define ourselves as people that are willing to be in the fight and recruit those people who want to fight. I mean, Indivisible is attracting all kinds of people because they seem to be more engaged with doing things. We need to have people that are going to invite people in to fight the fight. And that's what we need to do primarily. The mechanics will follow through on declaring that particular position.
So I have to that you sent me. How do we get those people?
You ask them, are you worried about Trump? Are you anxious about the things that are going on? What are you going to do about it? We are the primary vehicle for fighting the Republican Party and the toadies that belong to it. So we are the individuals that fight up and stand up to fight against that kind of machine.
All right, so I'm gonna go. What? Oh, sorry. My name is. Sorry again, Charlie Jones. I'm gonna do this. Hi. Sorry. I'm tired. I've been working for 12 hours today. I have other things that I do as well, just like all of you. So I'm a little beat down. Deal with 180 kids a day. So I'm going to come at this from the union organizer aspect. The reality is that the average person the average person doesn't want to go to what is basically, this is a structural meeting. This is almost like an executive board or your FRA meeting in a sense of people where business is done. The average person, when you imagine if this is your first time coming to a meeting like this, these come off as very, very dry, very technical. It's not exciting. It's very hard to get someone to come back after that being your first meeting. So when it comes to it, you need engagement pieces. The engagement part is what is missing. And this is a problem with a lot of the Democratic community clubs that we have. You see this in Central Valley too, is you need to have the fun things that draw in low threshold members, people that are Democrats that want to be a part of something, but don't necessarily want to go to a meeting like this. So that's things like trivia. It's things like bar nights. It's things like wine, things where you can have fun, casual conversations that don't require point of order or votes, where you can actually be like, I want to talk about a topic, but not feel like it's so formal. I want to get to know other Democrats, but not feel like I'm running for something. Like that's what you need, because when you have people that show up to that, then they start to feel more comfortable with, hey, if I'm enjoying this, maybe I will go to your structural business meetings. If I'm feeling comfortable here and I have friends now, I will go to one of your protests or I will help you table because I'm a part of this. Because just like in a union, a lot of members aren't going to feel so comfortable knocking on doors or walking out if they don't know the other people that they're going to be going with. So you need to build up the friend side of this and the community side of this before you can make really deep and heavy asks.
Hi there, this is Stephen Dunbar at the back. Charlie said almost everything I was going to say. I just wanted to add on, the Indivisible had a trash cleanup day, and that was my perfect example of just low threshold engagement. And that was my thought.
Something, because I know you mentioned cultural outreach, and one thing that I think would be a good idea is if we join or help sponsor cultural events. For example, Holi is coming up, or is happening right now. So for example, I think what would be a good idea is maybe inviting people to come teach about, for example, Holi or different religious events or different things that happen around the world to kind of help bring together a community, but also a diverse community as well. So that's one way to kind of bring in more diverse people in it, because I know that was something you wanted to mention.
I love that. Thank you. We need you guys in.
Can you use the mic?
See the red, the mic's not on. I'm sorry. Sorry, guys. I forgot the mic was somebody else. If you have events, what was I saying? I don't even remember what I was saying. We do need to share those cultural events. So if you are a member of a bridge club, you play cards, you go bowling, whatever, we need to be talking to each one of these groups and sharing. And I love the idea about the cards. I love that. I'm going to have some printed up. I'm going to get them to all members. That's one of the great things I think we're going to do. And I'm going to hand this to Sharon and then Trish.
Yeah, I was thinking of media, like Joan Sapella writes for the Livermore Independent. She could be writing a couple articles about what we're doing, like every so often, and other media that we're there and what we're doing.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah, I can speak to the letters to the editor thing, actually. So, and actually speaking about the religions, this is a moment where at least 4 major religions have had or are having different events taking place. So, but not going there. I wanted to really expand that in terms of what are we doing. I was really struck by the fact that 90 people showed up to the Indivisible meeting. And this is a good turnout, but it's not 90. But I also want to speak to what our purpose is and the difference between what I think both Van and Charlie, a bunch of people back there, actually, several of them, to about what we do as opposed to who we get elected. If we want to elect Dems don't mean a damn thing. They're just a name. And I serve on the Central Committee, and all of that. They don't mean a damn thing, though, if what we're doing is not getting people who are actually doing the work. So the other thing to do is go look at the California Dems. There's like 22 things that are on that list. Can we pick as a club 5 of them and enact them locally? Or 10, but 5 is better. Well, I don't know. You decide.
It's a dance party, see? One of the discussions that we were having at through our health club, which is a subcommittee of the Indivisible, is our frustration with what's happening with California Democrats right now. So Gavin Newsom and the podcasts that he's hosting, and Padilla, like, where is he, right? And I think what's happening is people are losing faith at a very fundamental level on how the Democrats are showing up. And I think that what we would like to see, speaking from the outside, is we would like to see some pushback, some collective pushback on what's happening. So these politicians that are not holding town halls and are not being accountable and not voting correctly and making bad choices that make us look really unpopular, I think are really affecting people's buy-in to the Democratic Party. And I'm wondering, like, what is our stance on something like the SAVES Act? How are we ensuring that we're going to have voters? I mean, that seems to me to be one of the most important things. If all of a sudden 65 million women can't vote in the next election, well, what are we doing? Right? Well, any election, and so, but I mean, people are activated. I'm frustrated. I'm scared, and I want to know what the Democratic Party is doing to make me feel better and make me feel like I can trust in the actions that they are taking. And I think a lot of people right now are just appalled at what's happening and feeling like our Democratic leaders are not representing us in a way that is authentic to how we're feeling. And so if we could, well, but if there's some way that there could be a focus on those issues that are so fundamental, I think it would really activate people to become involved.
And I think that goes, I'm hearing a lot about like what we are going to do to try to get people involved. And you talked a little bit about purpose. What is the purpose of this organization, and why should people join this organization instead of, or not instead of, but in addition to Livermore Indivisible or things like that? What do we do differently than all these other grassroots organizations?
I I would like to add, can you hear me? I'm Joan Seppala. That
Yeah.
I think the main issue is that we're losing our democracy. People talk about, oh, we lost funds here or there, but they don't mention the underlying problem where this Trump is moving to a dictatorship. And so I do think that saying that explicitly, not just tiptoeing around it, that topic is important. And by the way, letters to the editor are read more than anything else in the paper, we think. And that is a good way to express yourself. And I also feel that the Independent would be pleased to print any press releases or any other communication you think would be valuable.
Yeah, but we have to organize what our purpose is so we can tell people. I mean, that's in our bylaws. Great. Let's arm that with every person in this room. So when we talk to people, that's why you should come join this meeting, why you should come join this organization. You know, that's the piece that I think you have to get across. Otherwise, people will not come here. They'll concentrate on those things that people see more visibly, like the protests, and not that that's not necessary, but as these two wonderful people just said, we have to push legislation. We have to do something politically. We're the party. We have to, not only work to get people here elected, but our values and policies, shown here in the Tri-Valley, right? What can we do in Pleasanton and Dublin and Livermore? Maybe we all can't move Chuck Schumer, but we sure can talk to our mayors and our council members and our school board members and make a difference right here. So
I've had my hand up for 20 minutes.
Before we put it, I'm gonna take a couple from the Zoom real quick too, and then I'll come back to the room. But one thing that is different between us, the Democrats and the other organizations, we are the official party. So we are chartered through the Alameda County Central Committee. And what that means is that we have a voice, we have representation on the committee, and that gives us our feedback into the party. If you're not a part of the party, you can't really have a say in how the party runs. Well, it's not though. You do have, well, true. I mean, Kyoko's not a Democrat, right? And she does more than anybody. So you're right. You can have a huge impact, but you can't really change the party if you're not in the party. I mean, you could not vote for him. You could not vote for him. I mean, you could do that. You could protest. You could, send your vote to the Republican Party, I guess, because that's what happens with protest votes. So, I mean, I don't think the answer is to abandon the Democratic Party. I think it's to make the party stronger, to force our party leaders to do what we want, to listen to us, but don't abandon us. Please don't abandon us. Let me check real quick online here. Can we check real quick online? Did we have some other comments online?
Yes, I've had my hand up for about 20 minutes.
Yeah, so go ahead. I apologize.
I've been trying to be polite. There's a bill in Congress right now that only shows 2 sections on the White House site. The 2 sections are about union workers getting breaks. The sections are 1 and 8. They think union members are not smart enough to know that at least 6 sections are missing from that. We need to show the unions we support them by protesting this bill loudly. It's called the Union Breaking Bill.
The union breaking bill, and you know is it a SB or AB? What is the?
I believe it's an SB. I don't have it up right now, but for a bill to only show 2 sections that are very favorable sounding, and at least 6 are missing. There might be sections after section 8. But people are going to look at it and go, oh, this is wonderful. Yes, we want the poor union workers to get breaks. People need to get the whole content of it, and those could be letters to the editor that show unions that the Democrats have their back, that we're actually working for them.
Read.
Thank you, Joy. Are there any other, did we neglect anyone else on Zoom? Does anyone else want to speak on Zoom? Okay, cool. We'll continue in the room then.
Say, and maybe there's nothing we can do, but really the issue is, what can we do if we no longer have a democracy? If he refuses to have an election, if he doesn't seat the people, that's the big issue. All of these other things, I mean, are great, but what can we think of doing? What can little people like us who have nothing, what can we start to plan? What can we start to think? Because that's the real issue. What do we do if he takes it and throws democracy out the window?
Storm the Bastille. Get your pitchforks.
Okay. Okay. I'm sorry.
Oh. One thing I really appreciate when someone says, call your representative or write your representative on this bill, and then tomorrow the next bill, and then afterwards thank them so that we're on their case to do what we want them to do, because they're being pressured in so many ways. And I think that I'm not quite so concerned that everything will be gone. I think that the courts will move slowly, but eventually, somebody will kill him,
Thanks a lot.
So
We might not be able to hear.
should I go ahead? Okay. Okay. I wanted to answer, I'm sorry, I don't know your name, but I wanted to answer your question about what we can do locally. Or what we can do, the first thing is understand where we have power and where we don't. And we have it primarily, the first place and the most powerful place is at the local level, at this club, at Indivisible, with our neighbors, with our cities. That's the first place. So pay attention. I was driving on the freeway and I saw an ice truck today. Ice. Yes. I'm like, oh, okay, they're out. Pay attention. At the last Alameda County Dems meeting, we had Elise Castro and Yesenia Sanchez, and then somebody from immigration speaking about what they're doing. Get involved in the schools to work on immigration. I know Livermore Indivisible is doing that, but we are the resistance. Whether we're able to vote in 2 years or whatever, 1.5 years or not, we are the resistance, And that starts now. We protect our neighbors, we protect ourselves. We tell our local officials to stand up. We write, right there. And then we read history, because there's a whole long list of people. So if you want a list of people to follow, there's a whole long list of people, who have studied this and can tell us what's going on. And the third thing is we form groups to preserve the reality and the history so that we are not losing. The good thing about human beings is they're very adaptable, and the bad thing about human beings is they're very adaptable. We need to be able to understand what truth is, what it's been, and to be able to pass that on to everybody else around us. So those would be my answers. In other words, sorry, things change. I'm trying to remember I think it's Siskin, Amy Siskin. There are a number of people who are keeping notes about what it's like now, what's being done. So when I talk about truth, I'm not talking truth with a capital T. I'm really talking about how things are being changed and normalized. Don't allow them to be normalized, I think is a better way to put it.
I almost got to say this earlier, but our purpose, and I think it bears reading at this meeting, it shall be the purpose of this organization to promote the maximum participation in the election of Democratic candidates for public office at the local, state, and national levels, to promote the general goals of the Democratic Party among all citizens of the district, and to inform and educate the public on issues relevant to democratic values. It shall include empowering Democrats with opportunities to have a positive political impact on people, planet, jobs, and justice. Now, that's what we're about. It's no accident. This is the second paragraph in our bylaws, and it's a long argument. I usually keep it short to that last sentence: empowering Democrats to have an impact on justice, jobs, people, planet, and peace. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I think, Ellis, you're absolutely right with electing Democratic candidates. That's first and foremost. But back to what we were asking with the community engagement and outreach. One of the things I think, and I learned in this last election too, is that we really need to do a better job of outreach to the Asian community. And I think, kind of based on what some of the people in the back here had said earlier about, going to their events, going to cultural events, going to the churches they belong to, or whatever it may be. I know, Dublin's majority Asian now. Pleasanton, I think, probably is as well. I'm not quite sure about Livermore, but they're getting there. So that's definitely a group we need to do a lot of outreach to. And I found there were two major things that priorities for that group that I found in this last election. That was education and public safety. And at least in Pleasanton, that is what I found. So talking to them about what's important, what we can do to help them further those goals, and what's important to their group, I think should be something that's definitely on our radar of what to do.
What I think is important is that you have all these various groups that are trying to move the needle and move things along in a particular direction and want to stop what Trump is doing. The reality is we're the only game in town. We're the only party that can fight the Republicans. All the diffusion with various groups trying to fight this effort is all well and good, but we're the only game in town. And we've got to recruit people from those other activities, and we've got to be the ones that stand up primarily for the fight. Whatever. We have to declare ourselves as the way to go in this process, the only game in town. And then
Let me ask a question of the members with that in mind. We're the only game in town, and we have a president who is actively ignoring a court order, a federal court order, ordering them to return flights, and they're just blowing us off. So what do we do when he's ignoring the courts?
You know, what do we do about the Democrats that are not standing up for what we want? Is that not what we should be focusing on? Pushing for our, I mean, I think it's beyond letters, like what are we standing for? And I think that that's always been the problem with the Democratic Party is we are so diverse and we're going in so many different directions. We don't have unified messaging. And so people feel like, you know, I feel like a Democrat. Well, what does that mean to you? Well, it means that, you know, I want, you know, justice for all. But the Republicans are coming out and saying, we're going to lower your price on eggs and we're going to get rid of violent immigrants and making shit up. I mean, I'm just sorry, but that's what they're doing to scare people. And so if we're not going to use a scare tactic, we need to use a tactic that says we're fighting those people that are trying to scare you. And what are we doing to fight them? Right? We can't, I feel like, right. And there needs to be a messaging, a uniting messaging. And that's what we need to push on our representatives, that we have expectations, get it together, and we need to go fight wholeheartedly together and stop bailing, you know, on cohesion, right? We're within our top representatives, there's no direct messaging. And if we can't do it there, we need to start from the bottom up and start pushing. I mean, that's so much of what we do for Indivisible is we put out these action items all the time saying, okay, this is the way we want our constituents to vote on the CR and whatever else. So that should be the messaging coming from the local core. You know, what is it that we're expecting and how are we going to push that messaging out, and how are we going to get young people, because how many young people have bailed on the party because the party it feels inferior. It doesn't feel like a thing anymore, right? It's not solid. It's not in your workplace. It's not in your union. People are at home online and they're not in the real world. This isn't how we connect with young people. They're making TikTok videos and they're making, you know, they're speaking to each other online. They're not speaking to each other in person, right? They have a different way of communicating and our message isn't getting to them.
I see. Ron, did you want to say something?
I think one of the important facts that we have to keep in mind is something that Ellis has been saying for many years, and I like to trumpet it again, and that is that what we do doesn't have much of an impact unless we spread it through big media. And you've been saying it for years also. So there's a strong core of us that know that. And I think that one of the essential things that we need to do for this group is to have someone who is responsible for contacting social media and regular media, whether it be the Chronicle, the Livermore newspaper, those papers. And it's not an easy job to do. And one of the reasons why we haven't had anybody jump up and say, I volunteer to be the head of the media group. You know, I volunteer to be the chair of that. This is a problem that we had 5, 6 years ago. And one of the things that we proposed and actually voted in as a club was that if we need to get someone who is skilled at this, who is going to put us out front in media, in social media, and if we have to pay them a little something per month, $100 per month or so, this may be something that we should consider. This is an important function. We can't have the president and the vice president doing all of the work, and they've been doing too much of it so far. We need more work done at the committee level, and maybe we need to have a paid committee position if we don't have any volunteers. And as of now, I don't see any volunteers.
Following up on solidifying the Democratic presence with our legislators. Yesterday's meeting at for Livermore Indivisible had a very good idea, and we should steal it. They had 3 clipboards, one for each of our California, one for our senators, and one for our area assembly person. And I forget what was on it. It was passed around very quickly, but by the end of it, each of these legislators had about 90 signatures or 3 pages of signatures in a letter that's going to go to them. And it appears as though that's going to happen regularly at each meeting. If we had clipboards like that going around here, it would be one small thing that we could do. Another thing that happened yesterday was that there was a page of boycotts that are happening around the country, economic boycotts. It was a full page of what is possible in terms of economic boycotts. That's another thing that we as a club and as individuals can do. These are small gestures for each of us, but if you combine it all, you get some impact.
2 things. Is somebody coming up with Project 2028 for the Democrats? Why can't we start to put together what we think will be a Project 28? Why can't we come up with ideas and push it up the thing? That's one thing. The other thing is I did the economic boycott, but my heart goes out to the workers because they're going to be the ones who suffer. They'll just fire the people.
One of the things that's really bothered me about the visibility of the Democratic Party is that it's been alluded to a few times here, is that a lot of people don't know what the Democratic Party does or stands for, which became evident in the voting patterns with minorities voting against their own interest and young people not knowing what was going on at all. There's a space for this group to affect local knowledge about what Democrats do for unions and what Republicans do for unions, what Democrats do for women and what Republicans do for women. Go right down that list. And that kind of information could be on tables. It could be shared on the website. It could be really, it should be, I think, out there as the face of what this club does as part of the larger Democratic Party.
I just want to join this sentiment, like you and Julie. I joined the group because I don't like how the Democratic Party is acting, and that's what I'm feeling also that many of you feel. So that was my motivation to join. I don't know what is, but like I think all the ideas that you are bringing up here are very valid and very good, and I don't have more. But I know exactly that was my intention. I think this group, you expressed it very well. We are in a good position to fill that hole because we want to change the party. We want to have an effect, and we are the Democratic Party, I think. So I think that there has to be a way for us to fill that hole that we are all willing to accomplish within the party because we are not happy with it.
I'm jumping the gun. There are 2 elections in Florida at the end of April. And even though they went heavily for Trump, we should try to send some money to those candidates, the Democratic candidates, and try to turn that would turn the House. And so I know that's not part of this discussion, but I'm afraid we won't get to it.
Let me tell you about that real quick. There are a couple special elections coming up. One, Florida's first congressional district on April 1st to replace Matt Gaetz. Boo! And then Florida's 6th congressional district on April 1st. Special election will fill the vacancy left by Michael Walls, who's working with Rumpus. And then there's a Supreme Court election in Wisconsin that there's a postcarding going on and phone calls, I believe. Is it over? Are you guys done with that? I'll double check. If there's still time, I'll send it out. I think I sent it out to Club. Okay. So.
And it's for a primary. I don't have.
Virginia primary.
And Joy Online saying with DNC that fails to understand the voters and believes they can force their agenda instead of focusing on winning, we're without leadership at the top. Trump was given his first term by DNC deciding they could make a woman, deciding they could, I guess, couldn't make a woman president. Then they gave him his second term by activating both misogynists and racists against the Democratic candidate. Yeah, isn't that the truth? Okay, we're gonna get the mic back there.
But because I'm stuck on this one, like the SAVE Act, okay? It's such a nightmare for so many people, and it hits all of your targets. It hits women, it hits minorities. It's such a big problem. And you talk about going out to the media. Well, when you're tabling and you're talking about things, and trying to bring people in, focus on that issue, focus on another issue, something that's very, very activating, and say, we are currently working on restoring voting or ensuring that we have voting rights for women and minorities. And the way we're doing it is we're fighting this particular bill. Will you join us in this fight? And say, we want to hear your ideas. We want you part of this coalition. Let's get together and let's fight this. And I think if you have really solid, tangible items, that's what invites people in. We all are feeling like we want to have some agency and control over what's happening. And we can't fight everything, right? But if there's a few tangible things and people have a checklist that they can go, okay, today I accomplished this, I called the senators, I did this. I mean, we all know how much better that makes us feel when we have these action items that we're able to complete, because at least we feel like we have some control over what's happening. So maybe coming up with a list of 5 or whatever,
I'm good with
2 or whatever, and really focusing on that and making messaging around those issues. And inviting people in to fight on those issues, and then bringing it back to the local level. Hey, this the SAVES Act, SB, whatever it is, what we want to do is we are going to go out and we are going to do a registration drive, so that we can, or we're going to go out and do an education drive where we talk to women. Hey, if you don't have your, if your driver's license doesn't match your birth certificate, doesn't match your social security card, you could be at risk of not being able to vote. Let's do a drive where we help people get their original documents. How can we help and assist people from doing that, especially people who are not familiar with the system, immigrants or people with special needs or whatever? How are, maybe another area is social security. How are we, what are we doing to fight to keep those rights? So having a laser focus and having actionable items, I think, really pulls people in.
I can't just do any more than just say, yes, exactly that. I wanted to add on, I'm very, very frustrated. So what Isabel said, what Julie said, Just the idea that the Dems are going in a direction that seems to be adrift. And I'm very concerned with the idea that if we say our primary goal is to elect Dems, you know what? I get how many thousand, it feels like, texts per day saying, I'm running for office, give me money. You know, that is not actually helpful. We're so over it. So I'm hope that this works as a metaphor, as an analogy. It might not. I'm a sociologist. I study how groups work. I study how religions work, and I study how religions rise and fall. As you know, and the same thing can be said for any group, including political groups. They're groups of identity, they're groups of values, and so on. So when a group starts talking about who they are and not what they're doing, they're over. When Christians or any religion, I'm sorry not to pick on Christians, not my group, so I probably shouldn't. But when we hear people, well, actually I will, because they're part of the government right now. The right Christian right nationalists are actually a thing. So it's a problem. Is that what people on the left, who are Christians on the left, are saying? That's not what we stand for. We're going to show you what we stand for. Those two kinds of things, we are, our identity will drive people away if it stands for things that are hypocritical, if it stands for things that are doing nothing. We need to forget who we are. People will come to us if we're doing what we're doing. And that goes back to what Isabel's saying, what Julie's saying, what so many others in this room have said.
I just want to do a quick Zoom check. Does anybody on Zoom want to jump in with anything to say?
I've been putting mine in the chat.
I'd like to add that I think we should be contacting McNerney at the state level, Swalwell, not just, in other words, not just our city council members, but our representatives in Sacramento and Washington. And again, I think it's not just all the issues. It's that we're losing our democracy since 1776. Why aren't we out there fighting? This should be a civil war.
Joan and Joy, did you want to add on what we have? You mentioned the ACLU and legal aid. I assume they are doing lawsuits. I mean, we can't really, I doubt we can really help them as much, but maybe we can help a candidate directly, or, like the Wisconsin race, and do a small donation, something like that. We could, or donate to the ACLU. Is that what you're recommending, Joy?
Well, if there's some way we can support them, or at least urge them to take an interest in it. I mean, I imagine some people have connections to one or both of those groups and might be able to have some influence with them to just say this needs to happen.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'll see who has, maybe Igor or somebody. Van, did you have a comment?
Spitballing here. If I wrote up a paragraph, of a position that could be supported, kind of like that clipboard idea that Mary was mentioning earlier, could we essentially distribute that notion and have people sign on to it vis-a-vis an email broadcast?
We could do it through, if it's an official bill through the state.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
Live access to the portal, send it directly to legislature.
But the idea of having a list of people behind, the position, that we recruit through this group, or
We can't. I do it all the time. That's not what I was talking about, Ellis. I was talking about the portal, the advocate portal that gets sent to our legislatures. So it goes to, the Senate, all the senators for our state. So this is the state of California. So we can definitely do that. We can sign on letters. We can have all of our names in and signed on and do petitions and send it through the portal. Absolutely.
Joy, I know you have your hand raised. Go for it.
Yeah. So can we try a Karl Rove approach and just ask insidious questions?
Absolutely. Say yes.
Yes.
On social media, if we just post insidious questions, things that kind of suggest flaws in people that they have voted for. What if, because that was what he did with the woman in Texas, was just, he had people calling and saying, would you vote for her if you knew she was a lesbian? And she wasn't. But immediately people said, oh, no, of course I wouldn't. And that was the end of her. So are there questions we could post on social media that would undermine the really bad people? I know that's not taking the high road.
Wait, I do that all the time with the AC Dims account. I do try to needle Muss, but he hasn't responded to me yet. So.
Oh, how funny. What a surprise.
I may get deported.
Thanks, Joy. Anybody else in the room want to say anything? Caleb.
Hello again, folks. Yeah, I'm Caleb with Pleasanton Masons Local 300, and I understand we're still in the brainstorming phase of things. So I just want to impart a couple ideas and things that I've learned working with labor. So whatever space you're in, community groups you're a part of, I'm just going to pick like your workspace 'cause it's easy, especially where I'm coming from. So when somebody new comes into your space, especially someone new is hired into your space, that new person has incentive to have a good rapport with you, where they want to be liked and they want to be accepted by you and that new space that they're in. So you can utilize that by inviting them to the Tri-Valley Democratic Club. Okay, so inviting them when they're new, they're more likely to go and to keep going, not just a one-time thing later on, stop. So when they're new in your spaces, utilize that, take advantage of that, and invite them out. Then a little bit to what Brother Charlie Jones was saying, let's not call it a meeting. Don't just like, oh, come to a meeting. Like, who wants to go to a meeting, right? So come to a hangout, an event, a social, a meet and greet. Learn about what's going on in your area. Try to dress it up that way so it's more inviting to them in that respect, okay? If you want, maybe not as an organization, but as individuals, if you want to get more resources, maybe on organizing with people, one-on-one conversations, I want to impart to you an organization called Labor Notes. Labor Notes is a labor organization media, a nonprofit. They have literature and they do trainings in your workspaces about organizing people and talking to them and trying to get that conversation with them. So yeah, Labor Notes, you can check out them online. And I think their main location is in Concord, but they have different locations. But that's pretty much all I want to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Caleb. And then I'll just say what Linda online, Linda on Zoom says, one tactic I learned from Newsom's text banking group is to comment on Republican electeds' Facebook pages like the Republican congressman in California. And then Joy says, Caleb, unions are under attack with multiple bills. Do you know the full list?
No, I think there's a bill going on right now that we're supporting called, or it's not yet done by Senator Scott Wiener has a bill. I think it's SB 310. It's basically going to be supporting workers so that when contractors and employers that engage in wage theft, they'll be treated and prosecuted for exactly what it is, theft. And so that's something that we're looking at right now that we're supporting. But no, it's tremendous this year and the past year and the future years are going to be a really hard time for unions organizing. We're seeing that captive audiences are happening with workspaces where contract or employers are forcing their members or forcing their workers to watch anti-union propaganda. And so these are things that we're fighting and battling. That's something that we're doing. But no, I mean, I don't have a whole list in my head. There's a lot going on, but it's everywhere. Thank you.
That SB 310, I think that's the one that only shows sections 1 and 8 on the website. And do you have the full content of that bill? Because I haven't been able to find it.
No, I do not have the full content of that bill. This is just a conversation that we've had with Scott Wiener, Senator Scott Wiener's team. But no, it's not out yet.
Okay, because that's the one where it's talking about workers getting breaks and employers not being allowed to deny them. And it sounds like that's the one that leaves out a whole lot of what's in there.
I think that's the same one we're talking about, I think.
He believes it's the same one that you're talking about.
I've been trying to get the full content and I can't.
Okay. It's here. I was just making sure that she was complete before I started. I think one thing that we really need to reevaluate as the Tri-Valley Dems, especially when it comes to Dublin, Pleasanton, and Livermore, is do we actually know the concerns of the city that we are living in or the values of the city that we are in? Because when I ran in, for example, when I ran in 2024, before I even started running, I knocked on, like, the amount of doors I knocked on told me, for example, that the budget was the biggest concern, which makes sense, but the direction of the budget, like ELD funding, because I lived in an area with a high immigrant population, was incredibly important. And so what are the actual top 3 of yours, and do you know how to talk to people about those top 3 issues in your community? Because otherwise they don't care. They could care about abortion as much as you do, but they don't know you. They don't know if you're family or community. So if you can't fight and win at the local level on the concerns that they have, they're not going to support you at the upper level. And right now, we do have a disconnect in the Tri-Valley. That last election proved very much that there's a disconnect between, as Democrats, what do we stand for on the local level? Like, they know what we stand for on the national level, but at the end of the day, voting tracks together. We are very hyper partisan now. My area in the upper section voted for a Republican in Gaidos, but also went for an incredibly progressive Democrat on election night. Which is normally trends heavily conservative, I was in the lead, which meant that I had a lot of crossover Republicans that voted for a very strongly open progressive, because they may not agree with me on national level things, but they agreed with me on the local level concerns that they had, the budget and everything else. If you can win someone over on the local level, it's much easier to convince them to do something on the upper levels, because that's where you start. That's your community, it's your family, and it's your bonds. It's the same in a union. I have a lot of people in our union, I'm sure you do too, and cement masons, that are not Democrats, that are not progressive. But if you convince them that that person has their economic interests at heart, that that person is the best person to vote for because it helps your family keep their job and keep their money, they'll vote for that person regardless of party.
Recently either run for office, held office, or is in the public trust, like in a community where you're, in an organization other than this club, ask that question. Send us your results. I mean, you were out knocking on doors recently. Give us that information. Tell us what we're doing wrong, what our priorities should be. No skin off my nose. So tell me what I'm doing wrong.
One of the things that I know that I say to people when they say, why should I bother to belong to a Democratic club, is because we vet candidates. We bring candidates in here, we interview them, we ask them questions, we get to know them, we sometimes decide to campaign for them, We sometimes decide to campaign against them. But we get to vet the candidates. The rest of the public generally doesn't have that kind of opportunity. That's what Democratic clubs do. We're a filter for bogus candidates. I know that there are people who have run for city councils and mayors and like that we had them in here, and I said, you're just bogus. And we rejected them. It wasn't just me. It was a lot of club members, and it was a lot of candidates we embraced, like Charlie and Trish and Valerie. Did I miss anybody in the room? That's a very important thing. Oh, Stephen, right. I'm sorry, Steve. We vetted them. We asked them hard questions. You usually don't get to do that. You just get to hear an advertisement on television, or you get a piece of paper in the mail. That's not enough to inform you. And you can tell your friends you're not satisfied with your candidates. Come down. You'll get to confront them face to face, find out where they're coming from, and decide for yourself. But also, you'll be well informed enough to say to somebody else, I spoke to that candidate. I asked him about this question, and this is what he said. And you wind up being what they call an influencer. I never thought I'd say that. But you'd wind up being an influencer. Thank you.
Anybody else in the room or on Zoom wanna? Oh, Alan.
I guess I'd like to just say I respect all the interest in following the local issues, but many people really haven't quite realized that we have a president who's ignoring the legislative branch of government and is not honoring when the courts make a decision, he often ignores it. That's called a dictatorship. And people don't understand that. So I think the more explicit we are about the direction we're headed is very important. When Elon Musk raised his hand twice during the inauguration with a Nazi salute, that should be a signal to us.
As many of us as possible need to write into the Independent. I would love somebody that is good with writing. I'm not a great writer, to help me with a nice article or something to post or ban, and encourage, introduce our club maybe. I don't know, but we need to be out there. You're right. We need to be telling the truth. We need to be counteracting the lies. And, my mother told me I need to be nice to my sister, but I told her, Mom, if my sister voted for that man who's going to take away my Social Security, I don't want to be nice to my sister. I need to straighten her up.
My sister did vote for that man. We're all sitting here saying, how can people vote against their own interests? And there's a dirty little secret that I don't know how we can possibly fight. The Supreme Court in Citizens United allowed unlimited money from these dark money groups. And we don't know where they are, who they are, what they're spending. When Elon Musk spends $250 to $300 million on an election, he wants something for it. There's also these groups like the Heritage Foundation that have been built up over years that are financed by these billionaires that we don't have anything that can match that. The only thing I think we can do is perhaps go down to the Republicans level and lie more, because Democrats don't. And the other thing is you have to create a class warfare. People will vote against their own interest if they're advertised into it. But if they're told who is spending, show pictures of Peter Thiel's house or the Mercer's house or Koch's house, and say these people are spending all this money to have you vote for the Republicans, and we can do something about it. But right now, all these little things we're doing, we don't have a chance of beating what they can do with the money they have. And I hate to say it, but we've got to get more organized and more focused on exactly how to beat this, because we're in the hole, and that's how we lost the last election. You mean that people couldn't see what Trump was? No, they voted because there's a transgender woman going to beat up my little girl, which is insane. There's 22 transgender athletes in the country. That's the biggest problem in the world. But they literally convince people of that. And that's how insidious this money is in politics. And it's a corrupt Supreme Court that did it.
Thanks, Alan. I'm just going to say it's 8:57 right now. We have had a really good discussion, so I know there's a couple of hands still up. I want to respect Caleb and the facility and everything to get us out here on time and all your time. So we'll close this out in the next couple of minutes.
So I wanted to speak to the idea of what money does and what money doesn't do from very personal experience, both in my own running for office and in this past election, in which so this is local, but again, I stay local because that's where we have the most effect. I won my city council race against a huge amount of money put in with opponents. Stephen Dunbar won his race, despite the fact that a huge amount of money was put into some of his opponents. I don't need to say who did it. Doesn't actually matter. The point is, community matters. Building that, talking to people one-on-one. I'm going to hold to that. I'm going to stick to it. And the final thing I want to know is, we've had a great discussion. Now, what do we do?
Anybody else have any last thoughts or anything? Okay. Mary?
Following up on the importance of community, I am a longtime canvasser. I and my canvassing partner, Teal McCann, canvassed once a month in Tracy for 2 years in order to support Josh Harder in his office there. We got him elected, or with many other people helping. And then some of us went on a regular basis. And when we found somebody at the door, we asked them for their issues. And we collected the issues and consolidated the issues and got those issues shared with the candidates. So I do support that idea. I do think we should prioritize issues. And if any kind of canvassing can occur in our communities to that purpose and in a regular way, I think it would benefit us.
Anybody else have anything? If not, can I say, like, sorry, I'll make this quick. I just want to say, there have been a lot of good points made tonight and a lot of good discussion. I want to talk because I know there have been some points made about, like, oh, like, this is the official Democratic Party organization in the area. Like, we are the only choice folks have, and education, and folks aren't aware of XYZ issue, and like voting against it, whatever, all that. I just want to say, as somebody who was in Wilmington, Delaware, for a year and was on the first Joe Biden, then Kamala Harris campaign, I think one of the reasons why, this is my personal opinion, why we didn't win, it can be boiled down to, honestly, we just didn't have the right message, we didn't have the right priorities, we didn't talk to the right people, and we didn't meet where they were at. And I want to talk specifically and emphasize the points that folks like Charlie and Caleb made earlier today about, I think it was the week after Election Day last year, and I don't agree with everything, or honestly most things that he said, but David Axelrod on TV said, Democrats care about people, but they talk to people like they're missionaries. They come up to people and they say, you should vote for us. we're here to save you. We care about your issues and you should care about us because XYZ and it's good for you and we're good for you and that's why you should vote for us. But when you say that, you're talking at people and you're not talking to people and you're not meeting people where they're at. And there've been a lot of really good ideas tonight, but like we are a democratic club, yes, but we should also take a good hard look at the community building aspect of it. Meet folks where they're at. Put some of these events that folks would actually want to join us, would actually feel like they're part of membership, would actually feel like they're invested and involved, like we care about them. Instead of asking folks to support us, how can we support folks, right? So, those are sort of my thoughts, and this has been a really good discussion. And I really appreciate everyone's points, but I think that was just something that I wanted to emphasize. And I know we have one more point here, and then we'll close it out.
One thing I would like to, my name is Irene. One thing I'd like to do is maybe send something on to the site, the Tri-Valley suggestions when we come up with it or we hear something. And then we can share that with the next meeting or share online with the rest of us. So, because I know I've been doing a lot of Zoom meetings with different groups like Move On. I listened a whole hour and then shared it to my grandson's fiance, who's illegal. And she is crying almost every day and scared. And I gave her all the points that they suggested that, we do, and we could help. We can be an ally to an alien. That's what they call it. So this kind of thing, if we could share with each other and say, hey, I found this group and it would be good. I belong to the, I'm a Unitarian, so I belong to a Unitarian church. They always come up with really great things to do, demonstrations, etc. I like to be able to share some of the things that come up over there. And I'm also a Hungarian who belongs to a huge Hungarian community. And, we talk to each other all the time. My family is very involved with leadership and stuff over there. And they are asking me about stuff. And I came again. I used to belong to the Tri-Valley. I lived in Pleasanton. But then COVID hit, and then I got sick. So now I'm better, so I'm ready to fight. So I like to become a really active member. So I'm going to be typing.
Thank you, Irene.
Okay, and like Richard said, we do want to respect our space. We're very lucky to have this space here tonight. So we are going to be wrapping up the brainstorming session. What we are going to do with this, I have captured everything, not just on the note taking I've done here, but my note taker AI will type everything out and produce a video of this call. I will send it to members. I do have some of you all that have already volunteered for items. I haven't forgotten about you. I will be reaching out to you and talking about specific tasks and things that need to be done and get you access to our systems, like our website, and we will activate some of these things. Very easy thing to do. Put the suggestion link on there and be happy to do that. Also, we have a public calendar that I can share with you all. If you have events that you would like members of the Democratic Club to come and attend, I will get you access to our calendar. Just post it in there and it'll show on our website. I also have access to the Alameda County Democratic Party's website and all of their communications. So we will share our information with the county. We will share it with our sister clubs. We will share it with the UDCs, which are the fundraising arm of the Democratic Party. So look for those activities, look for fun things. I really like the idea of doing some social events, more gathering and talking, and finding fun ways to engage people and enlist new members. I'm going to turn this over just, Ellis, we don't have much time, but if you could do a quick political director's report.
Like the rest of you, I spent some time watching television. I saw Claire McCaskill talking to Nicole Wallace the other day. She was in Europe and she said, they think we're batshit crazy. And that term stuck in my mind. There's a lot of stuff that Trump and Musk are doing that are frankly batshit crazy. And when we allocate it to that kind of category, we're saying there's nothing we can do about somebody who's that crazy. That we could lock them up or we could shoot them. But we can't do either of those things because we think that they're crazy. It turns out that there's a methodology to their plot. They're causing a great deal of pain in a large number of areas, whether it's economically or to immigration or to foreign affairs, all across the board. They're doing a huge amount of damage. And it's only a matter of time before everybody is hurt by this. That's exactly what they want. This cruelty is not a mistake. The chainsaw is not a mistake. A chainsaw is a very powerful tool that can do a lot of damage. And why are they doing this? They want to cause a revolution. Joan Sepula, who was on this call, mentioned that. She said they want a civil war here, and they really do. And it's only a matter of time before it gets violent. Once it gets violent, it's going to turn into martial law. As soon as somebody's mother is picked up by an ICE agent and they happen to have an AK-47 in the back room, you've got violence. You can see where that's going to go. And once they go into martial law, you got Trump living his dream. He just exchanged a painting in the White House, the painting of Thomas Jefferson. He traded it with Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, for a picture of a painting of James Polk. For those of you who aren't familiar with James Polk, he doubled the size of this country. Sound familiar? His other favorite president is Andrew Jackson, as in genocide Jackson, as in racist Jackson. That's where Donald Trump is going. We have to bring this story to the public. We have to tell truth to power. We have to be telling that story, and that's what the plot of this movie is really about. People are just used to watching crazy stuff on television, and they think it's an extension of Robin Williams and Mork and Mindy. It's Elon and Donald. Well, it's not. It's a very evil plot, and we have to uncover that evil plot. And that's the only solution right now, is to uncover that evil plot. That's the political director's report. The secretary's report is we voted up new candidates for president, vice president, treasurer, and secretary last month. Jerry McNerney spoke. As I mentioned earlier, he used to be the vice president of this club. Now he's your state senator from the Tri-Valley. And he told us what he's going to be doing in Congress. And Eloise Hammond, an author, told us about her book last month. So that's the secretary's report. It's 3 pages long, but it's a few seconds. Alan's next.
Gee, I have something real quick. Regarding the protesting, it was brought to my attention that the protests in Tesla, there are some professional agitators coming to the protest. So if you attend a protest going forward and you have somebody screaming in your ear with a megaphone, don't respond. Don't engage, don't respond. They're trying to get violence started so that you will get arrested. So if you attend any of these protests, be aware there are people there purposely trying to instigate fights. Don't let them do it. Yes. Yes, and then we need to finish up.
Sorry, this is just, I thought you'd appreciate this. I happened to see Kevin Welk up at who is a mayor, council member in Walnut Creek yesterday. He said that the ongoing protests in Walnut against a Tesla in Walnut Creek are taking place against a Rivian dealership that's being built. And so what they're doing, the Rivian people are just sort of passing out flyers as they're doing it.
Buy a Honda. And for treasurer's report, Alan Nakashir.
I can be quick because we didn't have many transactions. Last month, we received $255 in dues. On that, we paid a commission to Square, who clears it, of $11.05, which means we had a net overall income of $243.95. We started out with with a balance of $29.7396. We ended with $32.1791. We have 81 members, and we have a 55 who have not joined, who were members last year. That's it. I always say I may not be good, but I'm quick.
Oh, he's also good. Thank you all. I will document all this, send it out, look for action items, look for me to call you and ask you to work personally right with us. Thank you so much. Meeting is adjourned. Yeah.
You can show me how the process works.
Good night, guys. Thank you for joining. I want to kill this Zoom. Bye, Joe.